Very good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. All the big news stories from India and across the world coming up in the next 30 minutes, including all of the news on the budget session of Parliament. Here are the headlines first. Discussion on Union Budget 2020-21 to continue in Lok Sabha. Both houses adopt motion of thanks on President's address, who will take up private members' business. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan to give statement in Lok Sabha on steps taken on coronavirus crisis. Infections in China crossed 31,636 people, including Chinese doctor who warned about the virus, dead. WHO meet in Geneva next week on addressing situation. Prime Minister Modi to attend celebrations in Assam over signing of Bodo Accord. More than 1,600 members from NDFB surrendered their arms under the agreement. Campaign for Delhi polls comes to an end. Election for all 70 seats to take place tomorrow. Counting of votes on 11th of February. And Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to reach India for a 4-day state visit. Talks with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday to focus on trade, defence and maritime security. First up, news on the budget session of Parliament, and it is the day of a private members' business in both houses of Parliament today. A total of 16 private member bills are listed for introduction in the Rajya Sabha. Now, these include the National Council for Waste Management Bill 2019 to be introduced by MP Mahesh Poddar. The Refugee Asylum Bill 2019 listed for introduction by member Hussain Dalwai. Member Saroj Pandey will introduce the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Amendment Bill 2020 to further amend the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. And MP Ronald Sapadatlu will move the Single-Use Plastic Regulation Bill 2019 to provide for a framework to achieve the goal of eliminating single-use plastic by the year 2022 for consideration and passing. And the Lok Sabha, meanwhile, has as many as 180 private members' bills listed in today's agenda. Now, some of these bills include the Compulsory Establishment of Government Women College Bill 2019 to be moved by MP Ajay Misra Teni for consideration and passing. The Compulsory Voting Bill 2019 will be moved by MP Janardhan Singh to provide for compulsory voting by the electorate, which is listed for consideration and passing. MP Ashok Kumar Rawat will move the Reservation for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes in Private Sector Bill 2020 for introduction. And Dual Time Zones Bill 2020 is listed for introduction by MP Pradyut Bordoloi to establish and demarcate 2 time zones to provide for more practical and inclusive administration of the country. And in some other business, in the Lok Sabha today, further general discussion on the Union Budget for 2020-21 is also listed in the day's agenda. And Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan will make a statement regarding the response of the government of India to novel coronavirus outbreak in China. All right, let's get all the updates. Kriti Mishra, our colleague, is now joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. Kriti, it is Friday and it is the day of the private members' bills, but also in both houses we saw the motion of thanks on the President's address was adopted yesterday, and there is in Lok Sabha discussion on the Union Budget to continue. Tell us more. How does the day likely to pan out in both houses of Parliament?
Well, Aishwarya, as you've said that Friday is the day for transaction of private members' business. Talking about the Rajya Sabha, Chairman allots Friday for the transaction of business of private members, and 2.5 hours are allotted. So several important bills are listed for consideration as well as passage. Several important bills are also listed for introduction. For instance, Kirori Lal Meena has listed a bill for ensuring uniform civil code in the country, and also member Saroj Pandey has listed a bill for protection of children against sexual offences. Another important bill that would be moved by member Narendra Jadhav for consideration and passage is that while promoting foreign investment, one must keep the national interest in mind, and that should be accorded paramount importance. There's another important bill that would be moved by Lok Sabha, which is to regulate the use of single-use plastic in the country, and also member Rajiv Gowda will move another important bill, which is the Representation of People Amendment Bill. So important bills are listed to be taken up in the Rajya Sabha. And talking about Lok Sabha, several private members' bills are listed to be taken up, including the ones related to the farmers. So member Rama Devi will move a bill to establish National Commission for Farmers, and also member Vishnu Prasad will move a bill to ensure protection of the families of the farmers. And as you've mentioned that the discussion on budget in the Lok Sabha would continue, yesterday this discussion started, and member Manish Tiwari hit out at the government, questioning the roadmap of the government for making India a $5 trillion economy by the year 2024. In fact, Jayant Sinha of the BJP also upped the ante against the opposition and said that the government is marching ahead and looking at making India a $10 trillion economy. So that discussion is likely to continue in the Lok Sabha today. And also a very important statement that would be made by Health and Family Welfare Minister Harsh Vardhan on coronavirus. That is a very important statement, as the government would be mentioning about its roadmap to fight this outbreak of the deadly disease, and also the kind of facilities that it has set up, including the quarantine facility in Manesar and also the national helpline that it has set up. So a very important statement that would be made by Health and Family Welfare Minister today. Aishwarya?
All right, Kriti, thank you so much for all those updates there. And both houses of parliament on Thursday passed the motion thanking the president for his address to the joint sitting of both houses of parliament at the start of the budget session. In the upper house, the resolution was passed after opposition-sponsored amendments were negated. Prime Minister Narendra Modi replied to the debate on the motion that lasted over 13 hours. And in reply to the concerns raised by the opposition members on the abrogation of Article 370, Prime Minister Modi listed out the steps taken in Jammu and Kashmir since August. And on the opposition's charge of unrest in the Northeast region following the Citizenship Amendment Act, the Prime Minister said that there is unprecedented peace there. The Prime Minister also rejected pessimism over the growth of the Indian economy.
पहली बार वहां के गरीब सामान्य वर्ग को आरक्षण का लाभ मिला। जम्मू कश्मीर में पहली बार पहाड़ी भाषी लोगों को आरक्षण का लाभ मिला। जम्मू कश्मीर में पहली बार महिलाओं को ये अधिकार मिला कि वे अगर राज्य के बाहर विवाह करती हैं तो उनकी संपत्ति छीनी नहीं जाएगी। पहली बार स्वतंत्रता के बाद वहां ब्लॉक डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल के इलेक्शन हुए। पहली बार जम्मू कश्मीर में अलगाववादियों को सीमा पार से हो रही फंडिंग पर नियंत्रण आया कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट अभूतपूर्व शांति के साथ आज भारत की विकास यात्रा का एक अग्रिम भागीदार बना है। 40-40, 50-50 साल से नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो हिंसक आंदोलन चलते थे, ब्लॉकेड चलते थे, और हर कोई जानता है कि कितनी बड़ी चिंता का विषय था, लेकिन आज वे आंदोलन समाप्त हुए हैं, ब्लॉकेड बंद हुए हैं और शांति की राह पर पूरा नॉर्थ ईस्ट आगे बढ़ रहा है। आज भी देश के अर्थव्यवस्था के जो बेसिक सिद्धांत है, मानदंड है, उन सारे मानकों में आज भी देश की अर्थव्यवस्था सशक्त है, मजबूत है और आगे जाने की पूरी ताकत रखती है। इनहेरेंट ये क्वालिटी उसके अंदर है और कोई भी देश छोटी सोच से आगे नहीं बढ़ सकता है। अब देश की युवा पीढ़ी हमसे अपेक्षा करते हैं कि हम बड़ा सोचें, दूर का सोचें, ज्यादा सोचें और ज्यादा ताकत से आगे बढ़ें। इसी मूल मंत्र को लेकर के $5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी को लेकर के हम देश को आगे बढ़ाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, जोड़ने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं।
And while replying to the debate on the motion of thanks in the Lok Sabha, Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserted that the CAA will not affect any Indian citizen and does not harm minority interests. He targeted the opposition over the CAA protests and accused them of fear-mongering and misleading the country.
CAA इस बिल से, इस एक्ट से हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी नागरिक पर किसी भी प्रकार का कोई प्रभाव होने वाला नहीं है। चाहे वो हिंदू हो, मुस्लिम हो, सिख हो, ईसाई हो, किसी को नहीं होने वाला। इससे भारत की माइनॉरिटी को कोई नुकसान होने वाला नहीं। लोकतांत्रिक तरीके से देश में हर एक को अपनी बात बताने का हक है, लेकिन झूठ और अफवाहें फैला करके, लोगों को गुमराह करके हम कोई देश का भला नहीं कर पाएंगे।
Let's get you some other news now. The stage is set in Kokrajhar in Assam for a grand welcome of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. PM Modi will participate in an event to celebrate the signing of the Bodo Accord, and Kokrajhar has been decked up and all security arrangements are in place to mark the event and make it a grand success. Over 5 lakh people are expected to attend the cultural event, making it one of the largest public gatherings in the country. And ahead of the visit, Prime Minister Modi said in a Twitter message that the Bodo Accord marks the start of a new era of peace and progress. He said it brings to an end the problem that India had been witnessing for decades. And expressing their enthusiasm for Prime Minister's visit and the signing of the accord, the All Bodo Students Union took out a rally on Thursday. And on the eve of the Prime Minister's visit, Kokrajhar was lit up with 70,000 diyas or earthen lamps. Remember, the Bodo Accord was signed on 27th of January by the government with 4 factions of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland, or the NDFB, All Bodo Students Union and a civil society group for bringing lasting peace in the Bodo-dominated areas in Assam. Over 1,615 cadres of different factions of the NDFB surrendered their arms and joined the mainstream within 2 days of the signing of the agreement. And former Rajya Sabha MP and eminent writer UG Brahma has said that people have high expectations from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. He said that a new era of peace is about to begin in the region. Let's take a listen.
By that accord, the present BTC that will be renamed, and the BTR, the Borderland Territorial Region, is going to be created under the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. We have the high expectation and people are enthusiastic to welcome the Prime Minister, because the new era of peace is going to be started here. Because 35 years old, the NDFB armed struggle is going to be is coming to an end, because they have surrendered all arms and they promised to work for the peace in the future. So the development of this area in the education sector and in the agriculture sector also, and sports sector have been emphasized by this accord. And there is a proposal for change in the administrative system, also administrative reforms, legislative reforms, and the funding system is also going to be changed here. Major changes are going to be there. So this is the major points and the aspects of the accord that people are happy with this, and we expect a rapid development in this area, particularly in the field of the education and in the field of the agriculture, so that economic development takes place here.
And in Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be back with more news on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back after the break. And now let's get you all the news related to the upcoming Delhi Assembly polls. And campaigning for the Assembly elections in Delhi ended at 5 p.m. on 6th of February. That is yesterday. Delhi Assembly elections has many firsts this time. The disabled voters will be provided with facilities such as ramp, wheelchair, pick-up and drop facilities and braille voter photo slips. Now, there will also be sign language volunteers deployed at all the polling stations. Also, for the first time, the voters are now able to avail the digital photo voter slips facility, which contains QR codes. Elaborate security arrangements have been made for the smooth conduct of the assembly polls with the deployment of the Central Armed Police Force, Delhi Police personnel and Home Guards. The voting will be held tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are 672 candidates in the fray. Nearly 1.46 crore voters will exercise their franchise at 13,750 polling stations to elect a 70-member assembly, and counting of votes will take place on 11th of February. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa will arrive in New Delhi today on a 4-day visit. During the visit, he will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow on a number of issues, including trade, defence and maritime security cooperation. He will also hold meetings with President Ramnath Kovind and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. In a statement, his office said that the meetings will be built on a strong relationship that already exists between the two countries. Rajapaksa is also likely to visit religious sites of Varanasi, Sarnath, Bodh Gaya and Tirupati.
Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, to India. He will be on a state visit to India from 8th to 11th February at the invitation of our Prime Minister. He will arrive on 7th February with a high-level delegation. 8th February is the main engagement day where he will hold delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister. He will also call on our President, Rashtrapati Ji. And in the morning, External Affairs Minister will call on the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. After his official engagements in Delhi, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister will travel to Varanasi, Sarnath, Bodh Gaya and Tirupati before he gets back to Colombo. You are aware that there has been a series of high-level visits between the two countries. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa chose India as the first destination to visit after he assumed his position as the president.
And now an update on the coronavirus. The Ministry of External Affairs has said that the government has evacuated 645 Indians from coronavirus-hit China and also thanked Beijing for its assistance. The normal visas and all the existing e-visas from China that have been issued are no longer valid. Meanwhile, Union Health Ministry has said that all 645 evacuees from Wuhan have tested negative for novel coronavirus.
We have undertook a very comprehensive, very elaborate and very proactive steps following the coronavirus outbreak in China. We have successfully carried out evacuation of 640 Indian nationals and 7 nationals of Maldives on 2 flights. These Indian nationals, they belonged to the city of Wuhan and nearby areas, and who did not show any symptoms of any illness. You had 10 such people who had indicated their willingness, but they could not travel because of the screening failure.
Meanwhile, in the view of prevailing widespread infection of the novel coronavirus, Manipur Health Services Department has imposed restrictions on the import of food items made in China, Myanmar and other Southeast Asian countries. And in China, the death toll has climbed to 636 with 73 mortalities reported on Thursday itself, while the total number of confirmed cases now crossing 31,000. The deceased on Thursday also include a Chinese doctor who was one of the 8 whistleblowers who had warned of the coronavirus outbreak but were reprimanded by the police. He was the first to report about the virus way back in December last year when it had emerged in Wuhan. On to some other news. NASA astronaut Christina Koch has safely returned to Earth after almost a year aboard the International Space Station. With this, Koch, a 41-year-old Michigan-born engineer, has successfully beaten the space flight record for female astronauts. She touched down on the Kazakh steppe after 328 days in space, along with Luisa Parmitano of the European Space Agency and Alexander Skvortsov of the Russian Space Agency. The earlier record for a single space flight by a woman, that was 289 days, was held by NASA veteran Peggy Whitson. And now let's talk about environment and climate change. Wind speed is rising worldwide, making the surface water of the oceans swirl faster. A new analysis says that the surface ocean circulation has been accelerating since the early 1990s. The connected system of massive currents that swirl between the world's oceans, also called the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, redistributes heat and nutrients around the globe and has a powerful effect on climate. Global warming has been predicted to slow these global wind speeds, called global stilling. But recent studies say that wind speeds around the world have actually been speeding up since about 2010, affecting the natural heat distributions around the world. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Breakfast News. We leave you with a look at the weather conditions across the country. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.